I've got a door behind me.
Hey, this is SportsSlaw with Lomas Brown, the pro.
And Deb Schneider, I'm the prof. And together, we're the pro and the prof.
I know it makes me laugh too, man.
One of these days.
But we need it, right there. We need it. We need laughter these days, man. These are some dark days that we've been going through, a dark year that we've been going through. And it seems like it's getting darker as we go through it. I mean, it seemed like it may be some light at the end of the tunnel, but it's been rough. It's been a rough 2020.
It has certainly been a rough 2020. But today, let's start today. It's Veterans Day.
Yes.
So I want to shout out to all of our veterans.
Absolutely.
Highlight a few of them. We've got a couple people who are going to join us. One of whom is a veteran, who's actually serving now.
Yeah.
So we've got
active. Yeah. So we got an active guy. Yeah. And also, I like to shout out to my brother, Jeffrey Alexander. He did 18 years in the Army. So congratulations. Thank you, bro, for everything that you did for us and the country. So have to send my appreciation to my older brother out there.
Okay. In which case, I'm also going to say my appreciation to my father, who was in the Korean.
That's right.
War. So,
absolutely.
Marine.
Wonderful.
Marine, always a Marine.
There you go. They're tough, man. Them dudes there, man, especially to get in the Marines, what they have to go through. I've heard, man. I'm just like, no, I don't think I could do it. I knew I couldn't do it there. I'd rather be out on the football field getting hit by somebody than to do some of the stuff that they have to do. Yes, man. It takes a different type of person to be a Marine.
Absolutely. So shall we get our co-hosts on and then talk about some of our veterans?
Absolutely. Yeah. We got some wonderful talent lined up.
We do. We have LeVar Jackson and Rocky Jones. LeVar has been doing our fantasy football brought to you by SportsSlaw. And I think we've got a new co-host in Rocky Jones from On the Ball podcast.
I like how you said that, Deb. You said that with some swag too.
Working on that swag.
Yeah. So how are you? Oh, first of all, LeVar, Deb, that's our veteran, our active veteran. So LeVar, from myself, from Deb, from Rocky, from SportsSlaw, Raymond, our producer, man. Thank you. Thank you for serving. Thank you for everything that you're doing for us, LeVar.
Yeah. Thank you.
So.
Oh, he's talking. Oh, we lost LeVar?
We lost him.
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute, LeVar.
Still with us?
Was that Lomas?
I said we lost you for a minute. But you're good. You're good now. You're good now. Good. Yeah. And Rocky, go ahead and let's talk about Rocky with On the Ball too. She had On the Ball podcast. And Rocky, what are you doing these days? What's been going on in your life recently?
So still doing the podcast, but I took this last few weeks off because I'm graduating in a couple weeks with the sports marketing. So that's my biggest accomplishment right now.
Graduating from where?
Eastern Michigan University.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go Eagles.
Yeah, it is. See, you see how she hit that Go Eagles in there.
Come on, you already know.
Yeah. But I think these two, I think you two guys, I think it might be a wonderful combination getting these two to work together, young, energetic sports fanatics. I mean, these two know sports, so I think it'd be good, Deb, to get these two together and see if we get a little fantasy, a little sports talk, a little everything about the sports world going on with the younger folks.
I'm looking forward to actually doing better in my league after listening to the two of you. So let's see if we can help out a little bit.
That's a good challenge to accept right now.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the veterans, some of the sports. I was looking at something today and, doing a little research like I tend to do and seeing which which sports we actually get a lot of veterans who joins the Army, who joins the Navy, who joins these. And as we went over the top 20, and it was just a little list that somebody had said the top 20, we found baseball is really, really well represented from, Tom Seaver, Yogi Berra, Nolan Ryan, a lot of boxers too. Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano. Then we have, of course, our football players, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach, John Wooden, and Pat Tillman. Now, Lomas, I know you played with Pat, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. He was a teammate of mine when I went out to the Arizona Cardinals in 1996. We were teammates for 3 years. And, just Pat was just always he came in as a rookie, was just a quiet guy. You could tell he was just different. Even as a rookie, you could just tell he was different from the rest of the guys because of what, you see guys gather and do other things, group off. But Pat was always kind of to himself, but always seemed like he was thinking, always seemed like he was thinking. And, you fast forward that to 3 years when 3 years when 9/11 happened and Pat left the Cardinals after signing a new contract to go defend this country. Then it kind of told me what type of person Pat was and kind of what he was thinking about, kind of, the kind of internal thoughts that he was having with himself, being on a football field, probably comparing it to being, and I know it's no comparison to being on a battlefield, but I just wonder how much of that he took with him or how much of that he came in with him, meaning, what did he use when he was out on the battlefield, when he was there for the short couple of years he was serving our country, or what was his mind frame when he was on the field with us those 3 years with the Arizona Cardinals. So those are all things, unfortunately, when Pat passed, things that I thought about that just kind of came to my mind after being around him.
Right, because he was killed in a firefight, I believe, in 2004. So
friendly fire.
Friendly fire.
That's the sad part about it.
It was tragic.
Yes, it was
absolutely tragic. Gave up $3.6 million contract to serve our country. So hearts go out to the Tillman family, and thank you for the service.
And let me say this. I also like to say, thank you to the NFL too for helping to keep his memory around. All the things they have a Pat Tillman Foundation. There's so many things. Even when they're servicing our veterans, Pat is one of the names, one of the people, one of the figures that the NFL uses to promote that. So it's a good thing. I'm glad that the NFL is doing that and they continue to, you honor him, even though he's not with us. So I'm just glad that the NFL is doing what they're doing to make sure that no one forgets Pat Tillman.
Right. That is so important. So very important. Another veteran that we can't forget, Jackie Robinson.
Yes.
Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball. He served from 1942 to 44 in World War II. He was court-martialed for not moving to the back of the bus.
Isn't that something?
Isn't that amazing? Just saying how far we've come.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. He ultimately was acquitted, and then it wasn't until 1947 that he started playing Major League Baseball and broke the color barrier.
Yeah. So LeVar, what do you think about that? Especially you and Rocky, you guys are young, heck, I wasn't around when Jackie was around, but I knew, I had heard about him. But what do you think about that?
Well, what's crazy about Jackie Robinson serving, and I've been told this about a lot of people, is all the African American soldiers weren't allowed to be around white soldiers. So
right, he served in a segregated unit.
We did. They got their ammo second, or they got the hand-me-down uniforms, or if they qualified on a certain weapon, they gave that qualified weapon to a white soldier, and then they gave African American soldier a weapon that wasn't as serviceable. So they put their life on the line for their country, but it was still treated secondhand. So you had to have a lot of bravery on top of risking your life for World War, because a lot of people between that era, they fought in a world war, whether Vietnam or World War I. So enduring that, and you still getting racism from white soldiers, yeah, I have a lot of respect for them. They paved the way.
Let me ask you this. Do you think by him going to the Army and what he endured there, you think that's what helped him endure what he went through as a civilian and at baseball parks? I mean, you know, for me, going and playing the football game, that was my refuge. You know, the outside world was the record. That was the part that drove me crazy. On the football field, that's your zone. That's there. You think the Army helped prepare him for what he faced when he got to baseball?
I know it did, because one of the Tuskegee Airmen had stated they had gotten to a couple of fights with white soldiers, and they had got to the point where they were tired of hearing what they were hearing. So if Jackie Robinson can put up with that in the military, he has no problem in a stadium where nobody can actually reach out and touch him. He can just ignore it. Same thing with ignoring on the battlefield. When you're on that battlefield with a gun in your hand, your objective is to get home alive. So once you get past that phase, being in a stadium is nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such an amazing life, and it's amazing how it just doesn't seem that far ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that long.
No, that's the scary.
Yeah.
It's not at all.
It is. Well, Rocky, you and I with, women's right to vote isn't that long. I mean, we can talk about all this stuff, and we do have the whole segment Women in Sports, which is a huge thing. You'll have to come on one of those with us.
Yes.
And just talk about that. Another veteran I want to talk about is Ted Williams.
Yeah.
And Ted Williams, another baseball player. And the reason I'm talking about him is, and I was telling you, I believe he was a Marine, and he flew with John Glenn.
Oh, the astronaut.
The astronaut. He was John Glenn's wingman for like 5 years.
And Deb, if I'm not mistaken, did he do 2 tours?
He did. He was in from 43 to 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought he might have did 2 tours, but that's just and known throughout baseball as the greatest hitter ever. I mean, they still talk about it now. He is the greatest hitter that ever played the game of Major League Baseball.
Right. So think about this. In 1941, he gets into Major League Baseball. He hits over 400. In 1942, he gets the Triple Crown. 43 through 45, he's in the Army. Or serving during World War II. 46, he comes back. He's the MVP. 47, he gets the Triple Crown.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
I'm telling you, man.
And he's the greatest hitter, and he lost 3 years of his career.
Yes, that's what's amazing to me. That'd be amazing. And like you said, it'd be a lot of them like that too, especially in baseball. I mean, there's a lot in baseball, and I wonder why. I wonder why baseball is it the season, or I just wonder why. Rob, why you think it's baseball? Why you think it's more baseball players than any other athletes?
I feel like just like how the NFL, like the back of your hand, every organization has their own flow, and with baseball, I feel like it might be a little more easier to come in and out. And because they have more games, it's like I think they need their guys there. So when the guys need their break or whatever, that they have that. And it's something that you can train and be good. I feel like baseball is something that obviously if you train with your sport every day, you're great. But with baseball, it's not like as intense as the other trainings. I feel like some of it, especially if you're in the Army, like you're still running, you're still training, and then you come back, like you're still ready and prepared.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being an offensive lineman and trying to be in the Army, because you couldn't live, you couldn't eat. Think about it. You couldn't keep your weight. You couldn't eat. You couldn't live. Like you saying, you're right. You couldn't do none of that intense training. Then talking about leaving the Army and getting back on the football field. Oh no,
Big and little O.
Yeah, remember also because all the baseball players were off, fighting the war. That's where we got a league of our own and the women's league.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie, by the way. Watch it. Tom
Yeah.
Hanks. A
Penny
League of Our Own.
Marshall. Penny Marshall.
Yep. Yeah. That
I
was
got
good.
it. I got it.
Can I say one thing? I've been seeing a pattern of everything you guys been saying, especially highlighting our athletes who also served for our country. I like how you said what did they take from the field to the service? What I really think it is the opposite. I feel like when you're going to the service and when you make that decision, that's something that was inside of you before you actually made that decision. It's something that it just cultivates over time, but it's more so they brought that mentality to the field that they're able to show, because when you're on the field, it's a dog mentality. When you're pitching, when you're going on the other side, getting set, it's a dog mentality. But it's like at that point when the country is calling and needs help, if that's what you came in there with, that type of mentality, that's not just on the field, but you're taking this on another level. How we were talking about your old teammate, about how he was different. You could tell he was different.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that he came into the game with, and it never was something he got that was new. It was just cultivated throughout the game, that he was able to now take his other responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right. And remember also that at some point we have a volunteer military now.
Mm-hmm.
We did not have a volunteer military. So there's a difference between who was drafted and who wasn't drafted. Muhammad Ali refused to serve. He said as a Muslim he wasn't going to serve.
Yeah.
So it's there's so much has gone on. I think you have to look at sports with such a historical perspective.
Yeah, especially today too. Like you said, it means a lot because of all the athletes that were veterans, or veterans, like Rocky said, veterans that turned into athletes. So because I do agree with what you're saying. It's something, because it takes something special inside to do that, LeVar. It really does, LeVar.
It does, yeah.
So
another thank you, everybody, to all of our veterans and all of our active service members. From SportsSlaw and all of us here. And with that being said, let's turn to the news of the day, which is COVID.
Yeah, the news
Still
of
COVID.
the news of the day. Deb, let's use that. I'm telling Rocky, LeVar, it was normal when me and Deb started talking about doing this. I took all the equipment over to Deb's house. We like, we're going to do this podcast. We're going to get together. We're going to be filming. We just going to do it all. And then COVID hit and everything stopped and changed. And it's been that way from March till now. And where are we in November right now? So this has just been unbelievable. What we've been going through and how it's just changed everything. My job, what I do now, how I do radio, just everything has changed.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, and we're running into our second wave right now. And if history is any indication, the second wave in 1918, the Spanish flu and the pandemic of 1918, was much worse than the first wave. And I think we're starting to see that. Also, remember the last time we didn't have a Stanley Cup playoff was in the 1918 after the Spanish flu pandemic. So, which gets us into what's happening now. I mean, we are spiking unbelievably in every state.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
And even from a standpoint of LeVar, how has it changed you with the military and everything? How has it changed you guys' way of life?
So when we do background checks, the applicants come in the building about 5:45 in the morning. They go through medical, they go to their service, they come to see me, and I do their background check. Now they go to a tent. They don't even come in the building. We check their temperature. We read over the forms, the contact people they've been with in the last 14 days. If your temperature is 99.5 or higher, you do not enter the building. You're stopped right then and there. We call your recruiter to come pick you up, and you can't see us for another 14 days. That's very pivotal. And just now, so before Veterans Day hit yesterday, our commander, Colonel Brady, stated we will be in mask until July 2021, and there's no exception to that. and we will still have our procedures of checking in at the door until July 2021.
Yeah. And Rocky, what about
Good.
school? I was going to ask Rocky about Eastern Michigan. What has changed on campus, or what is changing? Have you, or first of all, are you guys on campus?
So EMU is doing in-person courses, but it's mostly for classes that it's critical for, like pre-med courses. For me, being in the business school, it was kind of a hard hit for me as a senior because my last semester there, I was connected with the Milwaukee Bucks. And then now that I'm not at school, it's killing a lot of connects and networking. But it's just adapting to online and just learning how to use the online and just get the most connects you can.
How do you like that online as a student?
I don't mind online. I'm pretty good with school online, but I like being able to make those relationships with my peers because they're the people I'm going to be with in the work field. So I'm missing that aspect.
Yeah. Just asking as a prof who's going to be teaching more online.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. So again, so Deb, you see how it's just affecting everywhere. There's nowhere that it's not affecting.
Right.
And of course, and I didn't even think about it, LeVar, but even you guys with your military, they have sports there. I forgot about the Army Navy game, and I forgot about Air Force has a team. I forgot all about that. When you start talking about these college campuses and what's happening with some of the games and some of the sports being postponed, or canceled, or moved around, or whatever they're having to do to try to get it in. And of course, Deb, you can see how the Big Ten kind of painted themselves, or is it the Big Ten or the Pac-12? One of them backed themselves in a hole where they say they have to play it's the Big Ten. Say they have to play so many games and they can't miss so many games. And if they do, they won't be eligible for the Big Ten championship. And then, of course, that doesn't make them eligible for the national championship to get into the playoff run. So the Big Ten really didn't do themselves any favors by putting as strict the guidelines as they did on the conference as far as how many games that they can miss and still be eligible to contend for a Big Ten title or, like I say, a national title.
Yeah, I think football, a lot of what we thought was we're going to have this little 2 to 3 week little flu type season thing, and then we're going to get back and we're going to be fine. And this has turned into a global pandemic, 2.0 now, or some people are saying 3.0, depending on, how you felt about the summer and that. And we're tired. We have COVID fatigue. I mean, it's a real thing. And I think one of the biggest examples is the Notre Dame Clemson game. Think about that. How many, we were talking about 20,000 people in the stadium, 20,000. Lomas, how many are at the Lions game?
Right now it's 500 family and friends. That's it.
500 versus 20,000.
First of all, again, I really don't understand. Okay, Notre Dame, right, is an independent. That's what they normally go as. But because of this year, they went under the ACC. They're part of the ACC this year. But I thought the ACC had guidelines to prevent having, or have you seen any, Rocky, LeVar, have you guys seen any ACC games that have had 20,000 fans in them?
Rocky, I'll let you go first.
The only one that really shocked me the most was the Notre Dame one. Like, my jaw was dropped the whole game. That was the one that hit me the hardest, besides the one we talked about earlier.
When I saw North Carolina versus Duke last Saturday, I didn't hardly see anybody in the stands. The stands maybe looked like there were maybe 300 in the stands, maybe. And you could tell a lot of them were moms because they had the jersey numbers of the kids on the field on their body. So, yeah, I didn't see no crowd like that, though.
That looks like a normal season.
That's crazy.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
It does look like a normal season. It looks like a normal super spreader event right now.
It sure does, Deb, and that's why they got Notre Dame on lockdown. They got the campus on lockdown because again, they're gonna have to contact trace. There's so much they're gonna have to do after that. It's unbelievable the issues that they cause just by allowing that many students to go there. But I just don't understand under the guidelines of the ACC that I thought Notre Dame had to follow. Even though, again, normally they play as an independent school, I thought they would have to follow the guidelines. So, it seemed like everybody's able to do pretty much what they want to do.
Well, right. Remember, and this is where the law comes in. Each state is going to be different. Each conference is going to be different. And then each school within the conference is going to treat things a little bit differently.
So then, let me ask you this from a lawyer standpoint. So if I'm a person and I catch it and say years from now, I want to sue.
By the way, he loves doing this to me.
I know I have to. She's the law on the show. Who would I sue? Would I sue both the state of Florida and the University of Florida? Or would I have to pick one to sue? And if I had to pick one to sue, who would I want to sue out of those two?
Well, state, probably you're going to lose from a governmental immunity type of standpoint.
So they already have something in place.
So the fact that they're the government, and if they said that that you shouldn't be doing this and you went ahead and did it anyways, they're going to say you assumed the risk. So it depends, again, on what state you're in. And then is that a state school or is that a private school? So we're going to start looking at that kind of thing, because a state school may also have governmental immunity or may have a different, different defense than a private school. So Notre Dame you might have an action against Notre Dame that say you wouldn't have against University of Michigan. Okay, because you've got the state versus private school. And we see that a lot of times in the law where it seems from the outside looking in, it should be parallel. And in reality, it's not, because you have government versus private schools or state versus private schools. So that's going to be different. And I think that's one of the things when we start looking at this, how we do this, we've got to make sure, Raymond had up there the fact that nobody can leave campus. And Lomas, you were talking about that. Contact tracing. By the way, there's a new Michigan app that everybody should get that contact traces.
Yes. You're right. I've seen that. I'm going to download that app. Yeah.
Right. Because it's hitting closer and closer to home. So Notre Dame is saying you can't go off. Now, Rocky, what would you think if you couldn't go home?
Oh.
Okay, we lost Rocky.
Your mic. Can't hear you.
LeVar, are you still with us?
Of course, I'm here. So to answer your question, till we get Rocky back on.
Did we get Rocky back on?
Nope.
If I was on a base and they told me that I couldn't leave the base until we had tracing done, I would be okay for a few days because we're a base. So we have a commissary, we have a bowling alley, we have everything, etc. However, when that contact tracing for the whole base could take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, that's when people might start wilding and leave the base or try to sneak off the base, which you're not going to do because the base is on lockdown. So yeah, you're going to have somebody getting antsy after a while.
Yep. There's our app, Michigan COVID Alert.
Yeah.
That's going to help.
So Rock, go ahead. What were you saying earlier?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we hear you now.
I would have known my risk going to the game. And honestly, the team alone and the organization alone should have known the risk letting in that many people. Huge consequences. And then I wouldn't want to go home after 2 weeks because I have family, and just in case. Because the young people are more likely to be asymptomatic or survive afterwards, but you don't know who you might give it to,
But that's, and that's really a good point. The young people a lot of the young people were tired, and you're realistically, you're invincible. Okay. You're fine. You're going to be fine. It's the older people, some of the coaches, it's some of that. And but schools have taken a huge hit on this. They've taken a hit from the revenue, from the broadcasting revenue, from the ticket revenues, from the concession stands and everything. And in fact, we're seeing, and this is probably a whole other podcast on how schools are handling that. And in fact, getting rid of sports. There are certain sports teams that they're just getting rid of. Michigan State swim and dive team.
Yeah.
Stanford got rid of 12 different sports. So there's got to be a repercussion here that happens. And I guess we're now between health and the economics and the sports.
But see, Deb, that's why all of them kids came in there. You have to look at the money they were standing to make. You have a chance to be in the playoff. And the top 4 teams in the playoff will get anywhere from 20 to 30 million. You have revenue coming in from viewers. So if you have the stadium packed, which they did, and you have a chance to be the top playoff team, which now puts you in the playoff, which means you're about to get a big payday on a New Year's Day game. They were looking at the money. Me and Lomas talked about this in the summer. I told everybody and their mom the NFL was going to have a season. And half of the people looked at me like I was crazy until the season happened. And when they came back to me, I was like, Jay, you called it. I was like, greed runs the NFL. It has always run the NFL. They cared about the money more than they cared about the COVID. And look where we at now. We had an NFL season. It's the same thing that popped off with that Clemson and that Notre Dame game. Notre Dame game, they knew they had a case schedule for the rest of the year. So as long as Notre Dame don't lose no games the rest of this year, they're going to be in the playoff. That's big money. They seized the opportunity, and they let all them people in. It's the same thing with Texas A&M. They're ranked number 5 right now. That game, they beat Florida. Florida was a highly ranked team. They beat Florida. So now people are saying, oh, Texas A&M deserve to be in the playoff because they got a quality win over Florida. A quality win the stadium was so loud, you got people's earpiece being blown out. Again, money at the end of the year. They saw that was a ranked game. They knew it was going to be on TV. They knew it made their chances greater in case they had to catch a loss to Alabama. So what do? They packed the stadium because of that money. That's it was trying to cash in.
Yeah, and here we're being shown, the number of COVID cases worldwide, over 52 million, over 1.2 million deaths. Here in the United States, 10 million cases, almost 250,000 people who've lost their lives.
Yeah,
this is serious. This is serious.
The only light at the tunnel. I mean, hopefully they're close to this vaccine that these couple of big companies have been talking about trying to get out. Of course, I won't be the first one in line to get one.
I won't be.
But yeah.
That's a guinea pig.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
This is just like I don't buy the first iPhone that come out. I got to let it come out for a year or two. I got to get some case samples for about a year or so before I just dive in with the vaccine. But I'm glad they got something that's coming. Because again, I don't see stadiums, arenas. I don't see those going back to how they used to be, or even halfway to how they used to be, unless they come up with some type of vaccine where people feel comfortable to going back. I just don't see it, so it's going to be a challenge.
Right. And I think that we have to point out, and we've talked to Doc R about this, and we talked to Dr. Durbin about this. A vaccine is not like you're going to get a polio vaccine once in your life and you're done. A vaccine against COVID and the novel coronavirus is really a yearly shot where we're guessing what the mutation. It's much more like akin to a flu shot than it is to a one and done vaccine.
Yeah. That's not good news, Deb.
Yeah, we have to look at that. This is this is a virus that continually mutates.
Yeah. Well, again, it's affecting not only college campuses, but again, the NFL, like LeVar was talking about, to where now, they're isolating guys and they have to go 5 days. And in the NFL, you have to go 5 days if you're through contact tracing. They're doing it. So that meaning that you were exposed to somebody that might have had the COVID, you weren't directly exposed to that COVID person. So, you go through those 5 days, and if you're clear, you're able to play. So again, we seen Matthew Stafford go through it. We seeing a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers going through it. We see a lot of facilities getting shut down. A lot of teams are doing virtual practicing because they can't practice, or they're doing most of their meetings virtually and everything. So it's been an adjustment. It's been a change, and I could say this, just like they said about basketball. I think whoever wins the championship this year, I think it'll probably be the hardest championship in the NFL. It'll probably be one of the hardest Super Bowls to ever win because of everything that you have had to go through, and just the isolation and the traveling, just everything that's come along with this virus, or this whatever this is, this corona, the Rona.
The Rona.
It's got a nickname. Ain't that something? They don't gave it a nickname, the Rona.
They all do these days. They give everything a nickname.
It's a shame. It sounds like it's going to be here for a while. If they give it a nickname, it don't sound like it's going nowhere no time soon. You remember the Rona back in 2020? Yeah.
It's definitely changed the way we live now. We're gonna have to learn to live with it. Yeah. Very different. So one of the questions that came across, will the Super Bowl be played in front of no fans?
LeVar answered that. Go ahead and answer it again, LeVar. What is it about?
Again, the NFL is run by greed. The Super Bowl will have fans. Period. They're going to have people in the stands for the playoffs. Case in point, Jerry Jones. A lot of NFL teams didn't have nobody in the stands to the second week. The exception was Kansas City because they were the opening game. And, Kansas City had the Super Bowl. Jerry Jones had 1 week with nobody in that stadium. The very next week, Jerry Jones had people in his stadium. They're going to be there for that Super Bowl. They're going to make that money. Same thing with the commercials. The same thing with the people there. They're going to get as many people in there as they can. And it's going to be February, so they're going to be like, oh, no, the Rona's been down. Numbers been down. We fine. Watch what I tell you.
But do you know what?
The Rona's going to be up. The Rona's going to be up because we will have just gotten through the holiday season.
But I think out of any game, I think that game might be the one where it's least important. I'm just saying, not from an ambiance standpoint, but from a money standpoint. Because if you think about it, the Super Bowl is basically all corporate anyway. I think they might have, I think they give each city maybe 20 to 30,000 tickets for that city that they can use. But the rest, though, other 30, 40,000 tickets that they have, depending on the size of the stadium you go to, it's more corporate. I mean, the big corporations, they get most of the tickets. So it's not a lot of tickets that go to fans at these Super Bowl sites. It's more of a corporate thing. So the Super Bowl, they're going to make their money, I think, out of any game without fans. But the ambiance, I think the ambiance will just be totally different without fans being in the, at a Super Bowl.
Okay, I'm going to go a little different, and I'm going to say I don't think you need fans at the Super Bowl.
That's basically to my point. Go ahead, Deb.
Right. Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you a little more than LeVar. Simply following your point, Lomas, because you don't have everything's corporate, so the tickets are basically already sold. But most of the Super Bowl is the #1 show every year. It's a broadcast, and when we look at the NFL, most of their money is made off broadcast. So, and quite frankly, the NFL has done a heck of a job. They were the first ones who did the virtual draft, which, all of us were looking at going, what are they doing? It was phenomenal. It was just phenomenal. I mean, we all loved it. Basketball is now doing that. They're sending everybody iPhones and things. I think I saw that today. They're sending everybody iPhones and 30 different hats. So depending on who you get drafted, you're going to put on your hat.
You're right. So I got a question for all four. Rocky, you can start if you want to. Why is sports viewership down across the board? I mean, every sport viewership-wise is down. The NFL is the least.
Right.
But every sport, and I'm talking about some of the sports like golf or other, I mean, they're down tremendously. Why do you guys think that's the reason why? Especially since you can't go to them, the only way you're going to be able to see them is to view them on TV. But why is the viewership down so much in all sports?
I would say one of the minor ones would be more so just the excitement's not there. Especially if you're thinking about NCAA, that's college campuses. If people aren't on campus, you're not talking about it, you're not getting excited for it. There's no tailgates. And then if you think about pro, people aren't going and talking about it. And a lot of people don't watch TV unless you're watching CNN for COVID or the election. It's like people are lacking that excitement. But if someone went to the game and then they come over for dinner, and you're like, yo, we went to the game. It was like this, it was like that. We got to make sure we bet for the next one. Then everyone's into it and everybody's watching it. But now it's like you're not around people, so you're not talking about it. You're not able to go to the games. So the excitement's it's gone, I think. There's a lot of other serious issues going on.
Fans are important to you.
I'm not an athlete on the field to say if they're important or not, but I do think that's a part of the game.
Right.
Definitely.
But you're a sports marketing person.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
The answer would be yeah.
LeVar, what do you think?
I think because of that fatigue, they out and about. They're not in the house binge watching. They're not in the house watching what's on TV. Everybody has been in the house from March, some people until September. And then once October 1st hit, they were like, I'm done. And you got people out and about. My boy's grandma caught the COVID from bingo. She had been in the house from March to October 1. There's nobody in the house but her. She has a dog. And 2 weeks of bingo, she caught it. She caught the COVID just like that. And when they asked her why you go to bingo, she said, I'm alone. My spouse has passed away. You can only look at the dog and watch TV for so long. Had to get out of the house. And I would have fun at bingo. And then bam, everything changed. So with that fatigue, you have people out and about. And that's what happened.
Well, I'm going to say, I think some of the big sports fans that I know have said there weren't sports. We didn't have any sports basically from, April through, other than a little bit of golf and maybe some baseball, but we really didn't have sports, what we're used to for most of the summer.
Yeah.
They reconnected with their families. They reconnected with doing things that they hadn't done. Stepped away from the TV, stepped away from all those tickets, stepped away from everything and said, I don't really need it. And then September, oh my God, everything came in.
Yeah.
You had every sport that you could possibly, you could have spent 24/7 watching sports all through September.
Yeah. It might get back to that way again if you think about it, because I think basketball, they're talking about these right before Christmas.
Right.
Yep.
Right. You got hockey. They're talking about sometime soon. I think the only sport that might not be going is baseball. I don't think baseball, I don't know if it'll overlap, but now you got all these golf tournaments going on. The Masters is this weekend going on, that start. So you got all these golf tournaments that would have been played already that have gotten pushed back to now. So you're right. It's a lot. And I think that maybe that hurt viewership too. Maybe it was too much stuff on where, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you couldn't watch everything, or maybe it was just too much on at that time. But you're right. Everything has just been pushed back or postponed or done. And it's strictly because of the COVID.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here real quick, Dad?
Yeah.
Now, it's funny how the NBA Finals hit rock bottom, but July, soap operas were complaining that the NBA was taking away their viewers. And that was a legitimate beef. It was on the news. Soap opera ratings that came down.
Yes.
And the NBA ratings, you had NBA games being played at 3:30 in the afternoon, and their viewership went up. So that's how people were in the house around that July time frame. Because soap operas is basically for your retirees. You got some people who watch it on their phone at work. But for them to lose their ratings,
well, you get a lot of us. I'm a big soap guy too, man. So I'm the young and the restless here, man. And
What about Bold and Beautiful?
Yeah, I used to be because Bold and Beautiful comes on afterwards. So, a little as the world turns, but not anymore. But I'm going to tell you, it's funny you say that, LeVar. You know how I got into the soaps? It was because when we had 2-a-day practices, our first practice was in the morning. Our break was right in between when the soap operas be on. So when we broke for lunch, the soaps would be on, and you just trying to get some rest before the next practice. So you just lay around anywhere. They would have the TVs on, and of course it would be on the soap operas. And man, I got hooked, man. A whole bunch of pro players, man, be hooked on the soaps, man. Victor,
one of those things, I had no idea.
Yes,
yeah.
Soap.
What's your soap? I mean, everybody's
The Young and the Restless.
The Young and the Restless.
Victor, the Black Knight. Are you kidding me? Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah, man. Right there. There he is. There they go right there. Yeah. So, but it's a lot. I'm telling you, it's a lot of ball players, especially football players that I played with. A lot of us used to wash the soaps because that's what we would do in between that little break we had between two of them. Yeah. That is what's up.
The things you learn on SportsSlaw.
I know.
He said, hold on.
Yeah, I had to correct. Yeah, he was saying the retirees, even though I am getting close to retiree age. So,
My bad. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we're actually running out of time here in terms of we've been on for 45 minutes here.
So Dale, what look at Ray. That's the man Victor, the Black Knight. Yeah.
Okay.
So Dale, what we got coming up? What you got coming up, or what?
Well, we're going to do some more of our women in sports. Women in sports. We're going to talk with some broadcasters. We're going to talk with some more athletes. I'm really excited about that particular segment that we're doing. Obviously, we're going to have Rocky join LeVar on our fantasy football. Very excited about that.
Yes.
We're going to touch some other sports that we haven't touched that much. We've got some Stanley Cup winners coming on for our hockey. Looking forward to that. And then I'm going to go full nerd on you guys and bring in some lawyers.
We like it. It's a mixture. There, athlete and nerd.
Talk about how the law actually is affecting this. Can we stop something like that Notre Dame game? What can we do? And should we? And obviously it's political, but there's a lot of legal in there too.
No, that sounds great, Deb. So those sound like some exciting issues coming up. It's a lot of exciting things, even though this year hadn't been good, but it's a lot of exciting things coming up. A lot of things going on in the country too. It's going to be some change that happens at the beginning of the year. I'll just leave it at there. I don't take political. It's a smile on my face about it. So I'll just leave it at that.
Too political, but
right. Not to get too political, but I'm smiling.
We were dancing in the streets. We weren't dancing in the streets. We were
dancing at the crib.
Right.
That's it. That was it. So yeah, and we're also going to be talking about racial justice issues and diversity and all of that. I think those are huge issues that intersect the sports and the law. So. So thank you, Rocky. Thank you, LeVar. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, LeVar.
Thank you. I appreciate the love.
Yeah. Check us out on SportsSlaw.com. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on SoundCloud. And, send us some of your questions.